Hello everybody and welcome to this practical guide into using the Concepts app on an iPad to create a lighting layout in RCP in an illustrative style, specifically geared towards when discussing with a client about different lighting ideas and proposals. In this module, we will actually start at the beginning with bringing in some reference images. We will scale the whole scene so we can then add in our walls, the furniture, add dimensions. I will talk about the relationship between lumen and foot candle and distance, because that is very important then to understand the lumen method, which will help us to identify how many light bulbs we need in this living room being recessed. We will make an X-course into Home Depot where we'll talk about the lumen per square foot too. Also do a product search. We can then compare all the different light bulbs they have and actually select based on the need the correct one. And then we will go back into the Concepts app, bring in then also kind of like a grid to plan out where those openings in the ceiling should be for the recessed light. And then actually sketch in plan view as elevation view, the position of those light sources, and then finish everything with a nice RCP. For example, one switch or two switches, different chaining, and then finish it with a nice legend so our client, who is not trained as an interior designer, fully understands what we are talking about. Okay, let's do it. Before we can go into concepts to create our lighting plan sketch, we have to create those sketches actually correctly. And one of the easiest way is, since we have a 3D model, to create screenshots of different views, plan, elevation, section cut view, and then we can load those into concepts, scale them, and simply trace them. It's a very easy way to work economical and very accurately. So in this view, I have the deck, for example, turned off. The ceiling is turned off. I go into a top view. I can zoom in. Ideally, I want the screenshot to be as big as possible. So I press Control Spacebar to go into full screen view. Maybe with this one very gentle, I try to scroll in and center the top edge and the bottom wall edge. So this is good. Very nice. So that actually I could use as my, let's say, plan view. Then I can turn off all these gizmos, etc., and then create a screenshot. On a Mac, that is Command Shift and 4, and then I just screenshot here where the wall is kind of like a square. Very good. Perfect. Now, to make this actually look more like a perspective image, I will go to perspective view. I have to zoom out a little bit. There we are. Perfect. And then I just do the same one more time and do my screenshot. Wall outside to wall outside. Very good. There. Beautiful. Cool. So the advantage actually of doing these two types of screenshots is sometimes it can be difficult, specifically with monochromatic models, to see in a two-dimensional image where is what. And with this, I have now always a reference image to tell me, here are doors, there's a door, bookshelves, fireplace, TV, ottoman, couch, carpet, painting, floor lamp. Very good. So Control Spacebar to go back, exit the full screen mode. I turn all those on. And now I would like to have a screenshot kind of like from here. But the problem is the wall is in my way. So how do I do a section view? That's actually super easy. First thing is I'm going to add a camera. There it is. I can press N. Then this would be 0, tab 0, tab 0. Very good. Then I can rotate this one up 90 degrees. Now the camera is facing north. 180, it's facing south. And I can bring this camera back a little bit. Honestly, where this one is now along the y-axis doesn't matter much. And with this camera, I switch it from perspective to orthographic. Okay, this is actually now a section cut camera. To better see where I am, I go to a border, right click, split vertical, and then here I can switch into the camera, zoom out a little bit, and I have a scale button. With the scale button, adjust how big is this image in the camera. And then this camera, I can move around a little bit. Maybe 5.9. Oh, it's the opposite actually. 6.2. There. And I can move this one up and down, for example, to center this as I want. Now again here, where this camera is, that's just only then creating the section cut. See, this is actually pretty beautiful and easy. So right there. And there I can see, so there I cut the wall before the chamfered wall actually starts. Very nice. Cool. Right click, join to the right, control spacebar, and then I can zoom in. I can press turn all this off and N. Yeah, let's say like this. Then here again, a screenshot. I go from edge to edge, but only to the bottom there. And if I want wireframe mode, then I see, for example, the walls here tick better. There we are. Beautiful. Very good. Control spacebar. And now when I show everything again and I turn this camera into a perspective camera and go back into the camera and then press G and Z, so 2 times. You see now I can go back, G and Z 1 time, GZ forward. There I am. G or X. I can go to the side. You see, it is very difficult to really frame this correctly. So in that plan view, that was easier. Here it's more complicated. We could play with the angle a little bit. So the focal length, G, Z, Z. Now then you move the camera. Could maybe bring it to here, but you see it's nearly impossible to show the other stuff. So we're not going to make a second screenshot in this case. Very good. So we have our 2 plan view and our elevation view screenshot. And then those we bring over into concepts. We can copy them over to the iPad, email them, or send them via iMessage, or however you would like to do this. If in case you work on an M1 Mac, so with a silicon chip, and you turn on share screen and arrange, you can actually drag this over onto the iPad. So I switch to my iPad and I'm going to drag over the 4 screenshots. There we are. Perfect. Cool. Okay. I will, with the item picker, move my plan view and elevation view images to different positions. So that's very easy now to navigate. So the first thing I would like to do is to set up a scale. And this is an architectural drawing we're going to create. We want to work in a scale factor. So I'll go to Preferences. I'm inside Infinite Artboard, that's fine. And I would like this to be 1 inch equal 1 foot on the paper. We work with imperial foot. Did I say foot? Feet and inches. Believe it or not, there was a time when I said I'm going by foot to school. And I also set the graph paper, edit, and here I say 12. So there, oops, and 2 divisions. What about 1 division? Yeah, 2. Okay, good. So the grid is kind of like set up. The document 2, then we can go to the snapping options, align to grid. That is what I want. Those actually I can turn off. The rest is all good the way how it is. Measurement is turned on, and I can then go to append, and this is actually important. I just draw very quickly a line from the left to the right. So not something where you go one way and you go back, because then the distances are different. So one very quick left to right drawing with the grid turned on. Then I can select this one, and there I see that's actually 10 feet. I actually, with my finger, press and hold on the dimension, and then I type in, that is 19. Beautiful. So I have now actually a reference line that is 19 feet long. To work a little bit clean, I zoom in and then position this one right there, and there it should nearly end. Cool. Okay. I can make one more line. This time I go vertical. Again, same thing. Very quick line up and down. Select the line, press and alt on the dimension. That's 16. And then this line I will now position there. I will make a copy, and there. Very good. Make a copy. This goes to there. That's actually really good. So here, this layer I will call walls. And I have sorting automatic. I will turn this to manual. Now my images I need to adjust. So I will go to the selection tool, lasso, all now only on the active ones. So I select those, move them away for a moment, select this one, move it away, select this one. And then I move inwards a little bit. With the item picker, this is easy now. So this has to go onto this corner. Okay. Then I can select this again. And then the upper right dot, I select and move. With the pen, you see you can distort it. So be careful. Press your finger on the screen, and then we can scale it proportionally. Now you will see that this image scales. Now also this lower corner needs to be adjusted. And this is actually where the grid now becomes very useful, because all I needed to make sure is that I keep my image edges aligned with that grid here. There, this is actually pretty good. I do actually now see also this one there, so I will go ahead, make a line. There we are. Select this one. I would like to rotate this one 45 degrees. I tapped on that 0 degree up there. There we are. And then I just move it to where I would like this to be. This one here too. Go to there. Beautiful. Then, careful now. I do all this right now in this wrong layer. So these two I select, move around, move them onto the walls layer, release the finger, and then they got moved to there. Beautiful. Okay, so that image is good. I have two layers, like the 2D and the 3D. So I make a new layer. Select here this image, drag this onto that layer, go to that layer, select the image, and then I do exactly the same. Maybe turn this one off, then it's easier to see. There, that's actually very close. Wow, spot on. Very good. I would call this one Plan View 3D. And here I call this one Plan View 2D. Or since I also have the elevation view, I could just call this 2D views, for example. Maybe since, say, plan and elevation view. Beautiful. So these two images here, they have exactly the same width, the way how we screenshotted them. And they are also following the exterior wall dimensions. So I select both, scale them to make them as wide as the other two images, and that actually should be it. Then I can move this one over. Oh, where's the other one? There it is. Zoom in. Yep, that's the wall. Yep, that's the wall. So I can move this over. This actually goes back. Again, I'm just using the grid to line this up. And we're doing sketching now. We're not doing AutoCAD stuff. Okay. Continuing now with the wall, I will select this one, make a copy, bring this over. Now it's a question, how far do we want them to be apart? Maybe there, and then here, this goes to there. Yeah, yeah, very nice. I moved this one below. This is kind of like the screenshot only is useful because you can see really the lines. Very good. So then we can go ahead and on this layer here, I will then draw a quick line there. I will draw a quick line there and a quick line there and there. Oh, undo. It's better to just draw them completely and there. Ceiling thickness. Oh yeah. Well, this ceiling is actually on top. So this goes to there, this goes to there, this goes to there, and then you go to there, you go to there, and then I can use the clip tool. Hold on 1 second. Why some lines disappeared? Oh, this one did really go away. I can clean this up a little bit. Can keep a little bit of an overlap. It doesn't have to be like super precise AutoCAD-like stuff. Very good. So that is done. And then let's go to here. We need to add some of the fill lines too. So whoop, down there, from there over and down and over, hiding the layer. And then again with the trim tool, just removing all the stuff we don't need. Select this one, delete, there. Select this and delete. Yeah, here, blop, blop, blop. And that one gone. See, there we are. This is really, really very easy. Okay, so again, because this is all just going to be a quick lighting sketch, we don't need to draw too precisely, but now when we draw in the position for the luminares, everything should be somewhat realistically where it is. So I turned on now the furniture 2D image. I made a new layer. I call this maybe furniture. There we are. And then I go ahead and this time maybe with a thinner line, sketch very quickly out where everything is. Fortunately, the furniture is nicely horizontally vertically aligned, so I can just very comfortably sketch along the grid. If you're a little bit off, that's fine. A little bit of inaccuracy is also what makes these drawings look handmade, even while they're digitally. So there, fireplace. There is the TV, which I simplify with a horizontal line. There. You see? That looks nice. I also use, as you can see, 2 different strokes so that wall and furniture is easier to distinguish. Then let's go back to here. Now here we can do the same. So I'm on the furniture layer. Here is my bookcase. And then maybe to indicate, not indicate. I think I mispronounced that. And draw in some lines. Yeah, I leave the rest out. Over, down, there. Oh no, it's not centered perfectly. There's the opening for the fireplace. The ottoman is really difficult to see, so I leave that ottoman out. Shelf, TV, the bookcase I don't draw a second time. And unfortunately we don't see where that painting is, so maybe somewhere here we indicate it. Very good. Because we have this bookcase drawn one time, I go to the lasso select active, select all this, click the group button, make a copy, and then I just move that copy over. There, look at that. Beautiful. You see, this actually worked out pretty fast. If we turn the grid then off, everything is a little bit easier to read. We need to do 2 more lines. Can we do this with a horizontal? Yeah, we can. So, check. There's that. 45-degree there. Good enough. That has to do it. Okay, very nice. So, maybe one more layer. And I will call this one dimension. So if you talk to somebody, they will kind of like understand what this is all about. So how do we do dimensions? I can go to this one. Now because we use the grid, this is like an easy peasy task. So zack and zack. This one goes over. Now you see this line goes to that edge. This goes to that edge. And this is actually 19. I will turn snapping off so I can nicely draw this one. Then I will select, actually I will select all this, but not the letter. Make a copy, move that over, tap on the rotate function and say 90. Thank you. So we're nearly kind of like there. And then this one goes down to here. And there I clean this up. Then I can select this one, make a copy there. The 9 we have to turn into a 6. There it is. Beautiful. We do have exactly the same here. So I bring this one over. And then we need to measure actually this other here that is 8 feet. So I do the same again, like this, copy, rotate, minus 90. There we are. I can bring this over. And then that, zip, we bring down, line this up, trim this line, make a copy there. This breaks a little bit architectural drafting and dimension style, but again, this is just only meant as a quick note for yourself. There. Later in AutoCAD, everything will be made more proper. But this is something when we meet with a client, we could say, hey, flip, there are the dimensions. Then they can see this. This is all about staring at telling a story, visual communication. Beautiful. I would say this is good. Now, if one really has to, we could draw in the architectural ticks and add it to it, or dots or arrows based on what country and drafting style you want to use. For me, I don't really need the tick because I have exactly the markers to tell me what is actually being dimensioned. Oh, I shouldn't have said that actually so early because that was wrong. That has to be on the floor there. Beautiful. Now this dimension is also pretty thick, so I could select the layer, select everything, and then switch this to a different pen. So it is there. Maybe that is actually, for example, too thin. No. Go back. Maybe do something there in between. Yeah, that's good. Beautiful. Very nice. Okay. So with this, actually, we now have created our very quick sketch for the plan and elevation view. And now we can think about how can we illustrate lighting plan, for example. Okay, we are ready now to take a look at our lighting calculation. But there are two terms I actually would like to explain first. So I will just make a new layer. You don't have to do that because I'm just going to remove this at one point. I have grid all turned off. Okay, so let's say here is our light bulb, and the light bulb is emitting its light energy down, kind of like as a cone. And then here we have basically the distance. So the brightness, so how much light a light bulb is, or how much light it emits, is measured in lumen. So think about this really like the light energy, for example. Watt, that is only how much electricity the light bulb, halogen, incandescent, LED consumes. Watt has nothing to do with how much lumen, how much light actually is emitted. And then at the bottom, that's the area that's being illuminated. That, for example, is measured in foot candle. And then this arrow, that's actually the distance. So the reason why this is actually very important to first understand is, if we go back once upon a time, some smart people who were very bored figured out, so if I use a candle and I put a surface that is 1 by 1 feet, so no, 1 square foot, 1 foot away, then actually this candle can illuminate this area. And this is how basically FC, foot candle, was invented. And for a living room like this, we basically say that 10 to 20 foot candle is what is necessary to have a nice ambient environment. Okay, so let me hide this one. And then we go back now to here. So how do we do this calculation? So surely always forget this. Now you can always just go back to this tutorial, or you can just go to Google. So let me go, in my case here, to Google. I typed in recommendation foot candle for a living room, and for example on the Home Depot website, now they talk about the value here. There we are, 10 to 20 foot candles for the living room. And then how does the lumen function work? So we use the square feet amount of a room, so x multiplied by y, and then that is multiplied by the foot candle suggestion for the room, 10 to 20 in our case, and that then creates the total amount of lumens needed to illuminate that space correctly. That might sound a little bit math or abstract, but it's very easy. So here we are. And just make a new layer, because we're just going to do a very quick narration. So I have 19 feet multiplied by 16 feet, and that is 304 square feet. So that's the area, which I now want to illuminate. It was set. We can use between 10 to 20 lumens. And as we learned, the calculation is now 304 square feet, which is not the area, multiplied by not lumens. I'm sorry, this was wrong. This is feet candles multiplied by, let's say, 10-foot candle. This then will be 3040 lumens. If I go now with 20, so the brighter version, then that will be 6080 lumens. So now with this here, I have exactly the amount of lumens I need to produce. And now the question is, which light bulb or luminares can I get and install to illuminate that space? And then the lumen a light bulb has or provides, I use to divide the maximum of lumens, and then I know how many light bulbs, for example, I need to buy. So back to Home Depot. So I typed in here with LED light bulb. That's also a product I worked with a lot. And when we take a look at all these LED light bulbs, as I said again, there's like the wattage. That is only something that's important for supplying enough electricity. That has nothing to do, however, with the brightness. The brightness is like the lumens here. So there we see 800 lumen. If I go here, 800. We can see it here. So this is actually something that could go into like a recessed ceiling. Can easily screw this in, 650 lumen. And if I go further down, no, logically we're not going to use any of those. 350, that is maybe more something for chandelier over a dining table. Here's one, 1200 lumen. So this one is actually with 1200 lumen, 2 times bright, or actually multiple times brighter than this 450, or 2 times bigger or brighter than the 650. So this one is actually better. So 650 lumen is one light bulb. Back to concepts. So if I go with the 3040, divide this by 650, 3040 divided by 640, 4.7. So essentially we need plus minus just 5 beautiful light bulbs. And then we can think about it. Okay, now where do I put those two? One here, one there, one there, one there, maybe one in the center. We know they shine down kind of like a cone. So these areas now will be the most illuminated. It's also then a question how far is the light bulb inside the housing. The more it's inside, the more narrow the cone, the closer the light bulb. For example, let's take a look here from the side. Let's say the light bulb is here. You see there, this actually blocks the light. And if the light bulb is then more here, now you see this can just shine much further. This is then also something we would prototype when we are installing everything. But with this, roughly now we can see that this all works out. We don't want to have lights right next to the wall because then we wouldn't really have enough illumination also in the center of the wall. But something like this, for example, could work out. So with this kind of like established, we do now know actually how many light bulbs we have to buy. That dictates and or kind of like suggests also the pattern we would use if we would go with the 1200 now light bulb. We would only use 2 to 3, or if we go with the 200-foot candle suggestion, so a maximum of 6,800 lumen, then that's basically divided by the 650. And maybe 650 is too weak, maybe we need to find, for example, a light bulb that produces 800 lumen. So this is then something, a task also to find the correct light bulb. Okay, so let's go with this one, what we have here. So how can we now tell a client and visualize how this could be sketched out and ideated? This is kind of like a nice sketch here. Maybe I call this my Lumen Calculation. Very good. And this was only the overlay. Now I make a new sketch. So I can, for example, I could use in this case the carpet for example. I need to find a midpoint. So what I will do is actually the following. I will turn on my grids and snapping. I will continue drawing this so I find actually these intersections there. That's very useful because now I can turn snapping off, turn this one to 100%, draw myself a diagonal. There we are. Because now with that, I find exactly the midpoint. Yeah? And then I could turn snapping back on if I want and say, okay, so, whoa, use the grid. This can go back to 0. And then this goes straight over. This goes down and there and there. You see, I drew a very proportional rectangle. And now I'm just trying to verify, are they okay? Maybe I want to bring them a little bit further inwards. So this line here, I move up a little bit. Let's say like there. Okay, good. Maybe there. I'm trying to get away a little bit from the bookcases, for example. I have there also from the TV. Don't want to have any glare. So everything is kind of like moved inwards a little bit. So what I could do here, let me undo this one. What I rather will do is I will now simply select all this, make this a group, and then I scale this one. You see how this proportionally moves? It's kind of like a grid. So yeah, let's say maybe there. I could also bring this over, play with this a little bit. But essentially I have now my position of where I would like the light bulbs to go to. There we are. Beautiful. A new layer. Now I will go to this drawing tool, turn on guide, circle with a finger, tap tap. So it's now a circle. And then I can just very quickly sketch myself a circle, select the circle. I can make this a little bit smaller, for example, let's say like there, and then I just position this. Beautiful. And now to render the illumination, this time we don't want the ellipse anymore. We want to make this really big, really big. And maybe, oh, I have the grid turned on. Turn this off. With the pencil, very gentle, I sketch around it a little bit. And then to the outside, I get softer. So it's kind of like a spiral I'm drawing. And to the center, it can be more saturated. Yeah, maybe like this. If you double tap on a layer, you go into focus mode. Cool. Okay. I will select actually my illumination, move this away, select my circle, move this back onto that layer. That actually moved it layer-wise on top. Or it should actually. Oh yeah, there it is. Now you see now the airbrush is under that circle. So we could experiment. Maybe this is a tick too big, so we could scale this down a little bit. Let's say like this, then select everything, duplicate, also group it, and then one copy goes to there. Select this, group, duplicate, one there, and one there. This grid we can turn off. Oh, now we see now. Kind of like the zones where the lights actually would be. Specifically when we go into 3D rendering, there you will really see how informative actually exploring this via lighting. So I'm 100% sure that I'm too close to the walls. So what I will do is I will go to my grid and then actually bring this over and bring this over, and I try to hit that center again. So now I can position those a little bit to there and there. Okay. Cool. Okay. How do we do this now? How do we transfer this over to the other side? Okay. We can simply do the following trick. Okay, that's a nice thing about knowing drafting and all this stuff. I will just draw a line and draw a line and draw a line, and I draw a white line. There we are. And then select all this, move this over, group this, and you see I transferred over actually where my lights are. There. Okay. We could go to Home Depot, look at a recessed ceiling, canister, the diameter, so we could then draw an accurate opening. In this case here, that part I will skip because essentially everything what I'm doing is more illustrative anyway, so it doesn't really matter much. So in this case now what I will do is I will turn the snapping all off, and then I will draw very quickly. No, actually the snapping is still on. Sorry. I will draw very quickly a vertical line, then turn it off, select this line, and then I will rotate it. Let's say like this, copy or duplicate and move this over. There we are. Then I go to my airbrush tool. Remember when I was talking about this at the top, it is very bright. 1 foot under this light bulb is the complete exposure. So, so it's 1-to-1 nearly. The lumen to foot candle. So an 800 lumen, 1 foot down illuminates a square foot to 800 foot candles. But then to the bottom, it gets not as hot or bright. So that means I can sketch this one very gently down, you see, and then on top it has to be hotter, and then it fades out. Very good. That's nice. I need to do the following. I will select this one, move this to here. These two I will group. And actually I put this into a different layer. That's one of the maybe tiny downsides of how the masking tool works. Okay, then I go back, select this one, bring that to there. It's under it. And now we need to mask this. Here's the masking tool. I can actually use the grid for this. So snapping and grid is on. On top, I make a line. Bottom, go over. Suck. Then now we don't see where the mask is, but the stroke is there. So I can move this one up. There we are. That's actually not very clean. Maybe zoom in. How white is the one? It's the max. Okay, so you have to be careful if you press, then it gets really white. Maybe this is 100. Let me turn this one off. And see, like I'm pressing harder. Okay, so I press really hard and then I wait. Hold on. There. Select nothing. Okay, what's going on here? 1 second. Oh, I had the thing selected, the airbrush, and then turn it into a masking tool. So brush over, very good. So what I can do now is I can select this one, make a copy, move this on top. I can turn off rotate. I can actually scale this one down even, or make this bigger. It's up to you how you want to clean up, or if you have more elements there on top, just then can also sketch this out and then very carefully try to clean this up. Unfortunately, you don't see where this brush is, but again, now this should not be rocket science. Do it nice and quick. With some issues, it's fine. Here, I will keep this line, and this stroke down there I still need for the second one. I make a copy, turn the rotate on, and then rotate this one to there. And copy in there, copy in there. Yeah, I think I masked this one quite well. Very good. So that is perfect. This one here I move up. Very good. This one we can turn off. And then I will select everything here on this layer and make a group and then make a copy. Oh, how did this actually... Ah, I see. I moved this onto the grid layer, unfortunately, and not on that layer. Should have gone to there. Okay, good. In case you made the same mistake like I did. So we go to grid, select this one. There I have to ungroup. Very good. Now I can select all that stuff minus that line. Ah, go away there. Okay, so that one I group, and then I move this onto that layer, and then switch to that layer, select the part, copy, bring it over, copy, bring it over. The grid now we can turn off, and here this is actually the cones. We select and it's grouped, duplicate, bring this over, and there we are. Very good. So we want to perfect actually our drawing a little bit. If I go back here to this layer, now you see how I have these rings. I might actually select all this, then I do an ungroup and try to select the ring. There, and then that goes to there. Select that ring. Whoa. Very good. This now I could call, let's say, how do we call this? Light edge. And this, for example, we could call light fill or cone. Now, because it's not necessarily on the cone, because we also not in top view, we just look down to it. Beautiful. Now we can continue playing with this. We can change the value. When we select this, we can also change the color, for example. So there's like quite a lot of play we have here. Very good. Oh, there's an interesting hiccup. I don't know if you saw that or if you see that. There's a layering effect. That's probably because the mask actually overlaps there. Okay. How can we fix this? Oh, we'd simply bring this one up to there. See, then we don't have that there. So, okay, so in this case here, we will do this manually. So another mask. Chum, 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 chum. That ate a little bit into it. This may be a little bit smaller, and then I can clean this more up with more wish-wash stroke. Very good. Then that one I would like to copy. There you can see what I drew. You see there, and just bring this to there. And then 100% down there. One more time. Press harder, then the stroke actually gets thicker. See when I'm pressing, it's growing. Oh, I think you have to press also already from the beginning. Oh, no, there I made the same mistake again. Nope, nope, nope. Undo, undo. Have nothing selected. Thank you. Nothing selected, please. Ah, I see. I press and hold, and that actually selected it. That's why. Ah, here. Bonk. Copy over. Now, this is something you do when we do our last fine-tuning part. So why did this one not work, you might ask? Because that actually was drawn later. This is on a higher level, so I just draw this one here manually. Cool. Beautiful. Okay, and that actually is it. You see now with this, we created a nice illustration of how and where these lights are. And then we position that in plan view as well as in an elevation view. Now there's, for example, more creative possibilities. There's also a picture frame. We could then go into, let's say, Home Depot, Google for a recessed light that can be rotated. This is actually not on the ground. This is very high, so I don't really need too strong of a light. So definitely not 1000 lumen, not a 600. Actually, maybe a 300 or something could be fine to just slightly illuminate it. No, this is not an art gallery. Last suggestion also, now because this is just one plan, I could then either make a duplicate of this design and then create a layout with, let's say, a weaker lamp. So I have, let's say, 8 light bulbs positioned. So then if when meeting with the client, we can go to version A or version B. Or after everything here is done, we could also collapse the layers. There's actually a merge function that brings it all together, or I create individual layers and then turn those on off for the individual lighting grid or layout. So the last thing actually now to do is to create a proper RCP, reflected ceiling sketch. Again, we do this here inside concepts and do this also more in a sketchy way. So we have these 5 positions. We need to identify in an AutoCAD-like style drawing where these luminares are, what type, and then also suggest the wiring and where the switches actually are. So how do we do all that stuff? Let's go to Google and we can type in, for example, reflected ceiling plan symbols. This is very easy. Essentially, for specific light types and switches, there are specific symbols to use. Otherwise, this is nothing else than 2D drafting. So if we scroll down here a little bit, at one point there we see there is the symbol for a recessed ceiling light. So a circle with these 4 edges. So that actually is what we're going to put onto our plan. Then power switch. No? Do we have one switch to turn them all on and off? Do we have maybe 2 on and off? No, so we can actually kind of like change this here. And then also the wiring. So we can go now to concepts. I will make a new layer, and actually here I call this one RCP. And in this actually I will work. I will go to my pen, circle, there we are, tap, tap, draw myself this one. Thank you. Turn this one off, select it. I will make this smaller. Yeah, let's say like this. That is fine. I can make this a little bit smaller there, or even same size. Very good. And then here, this I will turn off, and that I will turn off, and turn the grid on. Oh, it did not snap. There it is. So I can select this line. Don't rotate. I make this a little bit smaller, and then I would like that to be rotated by 45 degrees. Very good. Copy, mirror over there. Yeah, that looks pretty good. And then I just go in and remove all that stuff. So there's my quick cheapo recessed light sketch. Select it, make a group. I can show my other positions and then select one, bring this over, select both, bring them down. Very good. Ooh, that one light actually is a little bit off. Whoopsie. So you go to there. Same with you. Okay, slightly corrected. Cool. Okay, now you see that's actually quite nice. We do have here right there a walkway, and this is open. So if you sit, this is kind of like a great area to put the light switches onto. So let's say we go with one light switch. So there it is. But then how do we do the chaining? This is actually now where the dotted line comes in very handy. So we could think, so you. Okay, now so this is kind of like the way how we chain it. Or I could say you. So essentially, this is kind of like how are all these lamps chained now, because it's just one line that kind of like connects them. Think about this like one train track, and we have different stations. So to draw this, so it's also nice, easy to read. I go to maybe something like this, 50%. Yeah, that's good. And then a nice arc. There we are. And a nice arc. And nice arc. And nice arc. And another nice arc. So, nope, that's then, for example, one way when we have the kind of like one switch. As we where was it? There. Single pole switch. When you then have multiple switches, now I could, for example, say one switch is for left, one switch is for the right, and one switch is for the center. That's then actually a little bit more complicated. So this is really sad. So maybe can make this a nicer S there, maybe a little bit bigger so it's easy to see. We could say here one switch, so I know that. Make a new layer, and then I will, on this first layer, select all this, copy, so duplicate, and move this onto that layer so I can turn this one off. Actually here, oh, this looks so terrible. There. A little bit better. Copy to there. And then on that layer, let's say we have yeah, now how do we do this then? So flop, you go and you go. Then actually this might only connect to this one. And then from here, this connects to there, and this connects to there. Basically, with this, we know that's the RCP switch 3. And then this is something also in terms of wiring. It's very easy to communicate how you want to do that. Beautiful. To make a discussion with a client, also very easy to understand what all the stuff is. We don't really have like a schedule or something in. We could then, let's say here, did I say schedule? I meant legend, not the movie with Will Smith, but the legend of all the symbols we have. So I can go to maybe this layer and then select these, move this onto that legend layer, move this away. There we are. There, that I move away. This, not rotate, I make smaller. There. And then I can write, for example, showing the grid is really helpful. Maybe a little bit of smoothing. That is going to be the switch, and that is the recessed light. I'm not spelling recessed out, so it's just shorter here in this view. Because when they see these things, they understand what that all is about. And you can even, to make this a little bit more understandable, hey, what light bulb was it actually we were even using? Okay, now this is not AutoCAD drawing. This is just a sketch we do on pen and paper, just digitally in concepts. Made a screenshot, copied it, paste this in. Yes, please allow. And then I could scale this one down. And I have somewhere then a reference. I could even write down the part number, the lumen this one has, and all the stuff. But then with this is a pretty nice and very easy to read document. Maybe to style this a little bit better, we park this a little bit. There we are. Now we could even, for presentation purpose, draw a frame with the rectangle and just frame this a little bit. And then I could write legend over it. there we are. And we are done. Ta-da!